the EM unit. For the majority of times, you'll use this regarding text, whether it be for the font size or line height, anything like that. EM is a unit relative to the font size of the parent element. This means that 1 EM is equal to 100% of the font size of the parent element. So say you have an element with a font size of 16 pixels. If you put your line height as 2 EM, then it would be double the font size. So the line height would end up being 32 pixels. If you had a div with a font size of 60 pixels and then decided to put text inside with a font size of 0.5 EM, then the text inside would have a font size of 30 pixels, which is half of the parent element. Use EMs when talking about font sizes, padding, margins, line height, etc. However, EM does get a little confusing when talking about nested elements. This is because the ratios compound each time you use them. So let's say I had 3 divs all inside one another. If I had the font size for the first div as 60 pixels and then the font size for the second div as 0.5 EMs, then the text size for the second div would be 30 pixels. However, if I put the font size of the third div as 0.5 EM, then the text of the third div would have a font size of 15 pixels, which is half of its parent element, which is the second div, but it becomes 1/4 of the size of the original div. See how confusing that gets? So you have to be careful when it comes to that. But to avoid it, we have another unit called REM. The REM unit stands for root EM, and it basically acts like EM. However, instead of its size being relative to the parent element, it is now relative to the root, which is basically the HTML tag itself. So you're better off using this if you have a specific font size throughout your whole HTML document and you want to avoid the compound effect that EM has.